Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. In this episode, The Last Patrol, also known as The Last Warrior. Direct-to-video Dolph Lundgren goodness, or badness technically. And by the way, in spite of the DVD, it's actually a film-only review, by the way. Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review, your guide to the wild world of science fiction, action, and horror cinema with me, your host, Miller Sipka. If you want to spend it, just look at the channel name. Now, by the way, that film was actually directed by Sheldon Leitch in the year 2000. It's an American-Israeli co-production. It's direct-to-video. It came out in Brazil and Israel on the 6th of April 2000, in the UK on the 18th of November 2000, in Australia on the 14th February 2001, New Zealand on the 19th April 2001, and the US on the 21st of August 2001. It was directed by Sheldon Leitch, written by Stephen Brackley and Pamela K. Long, and stars Dolph Lundgren, Cheryl Alexander, John Michael Burke, Rebecca Cross, and a bunch of other actors. Now, it's available in Australia on both a cheap grey market DVD from Jail Entertainment, which I have here, but I'm not reviewing the disc because it's just a cheap, really cheap, basic skeleton disc. And there's also a Blu-ray from Umbrella Entertainment available, if I haven't seen it, but neither disc has a supplement, but the Blu-ray has the film in the 185 anamorphic, while this cheap DVD only has the 133. Now, in the late 1990s, the movie landscape started to change, just as it did in the very late 1980s. Whereas by 1989, the Italian exploitation industry pretty much collapsed, the driving schlock merchants Cran International called it quits, and the direct-to-video industry really started to kick in, although it was about 3 or 4 years away from reaching the financial clout needed to maintain its existence. The late 1990s had just about every classic action hero from the previous 20 or so years getting their ass-kicking asses shit-canned in the box office draw. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone suffered a string of flops. Jean-Claude Van Damme fared even worse, finding himself on the precipice of starting a much more critically and financially successful career in the direct-to-video action market. Chuck Norris went into retirement. Charles Bronson reached the end of his career and his life. And Steven Seagal, well, we all know how Seagal went, direct-to-video equivalent of hell. And some minor C-grade action stars of the 1990s direct-to-video market just straight up disappeared from the scene, like David Bradley. As for Dolph Lundgren, the El Smarter Swedish beefcake with a chemistry degree from this awesome country of Australia, went on to making a film career in the direct-to-video market. Some of his films from this period are pretty decent, but many have been mediocre, and some have been downright crap. As for The Last Patrol, Dolph and director Sheldon Leitch, one of Van Damme's perennial directors, only signed on to this American-Israeli production on the condition that the writers changed the stupid script. But the writers were clearly suffering the E.L. James effect and said no. So they were stuck doing this stupid movie. Now, while many call The Last Patrol one of the worst Dolph Lundgren movies ever, and an atrocious movie in general, I will only agree to half that sentiment. I have no hesitation in calling this one of Dolph's worst movies, but not his worst overall. Masters of the Universe, anyone? Plus, while it is quite bad and suffers from poor plotting, characters that change motivation faster than Duke Nukem can chew his way from a platoon of pig cops, and there is very little action here, The Last Patrol, being one half an Israeli production, does have a few things going for it that at least makes the film somewhat watchable, by the very slimmest of margins. I do give points for a film being entertaining as well as technical skill, and The Last Patrol only just manages to scrape its way to a D, 2 out of 10 instead of the bottom ring of my grading ladder. U.S. Army Captain Nick Preston has just arrived in his latest post after pissing off the U.S. President, in exile at a remote U.S. desert military outpost in California, where the U.S. military stores some of its obsolete equipment, but enough guns, ammo, and fuel to keep it serviceable as a last-ditch military base. He is joined by U.S. Air Force Captain Sarah McBride and U.S. Marine Sergeant Lucky Simcoe, but before they can fool around the dead-end outpost and swap war stories, the big one happens, and California is separated from the U.S. mainland by a 9-magnitude earthquake. Yeah, that's what the Californians call the big one. The Colorado Desert has been replaced by a new eastern sea, and Las Vegas turned from a desert oasis into the American version of Atlantis. The trio of soldiers are joined by a number of survivors from elsewhere who tried to survive in the outpost. At least they have drinking water and enough guns to keep any Moros from trying to attack, including another soldier who seems to have been on a supply run before being separated from his unit, but just has something about his character that doesn't seem all that right. As the survivors attempt to build themselves a nice little community, a nearby prison where the staff have been massacred by the inmates, who are now led by a death row convict who was saved from an electric chair, which he now uses as his throne, while using the prison's security cameras to keep its fellow prisoners docile by broadcasting his own talk show, the only talk show in, in the area, at the literal last minute, and who have survived by drinking their own piss. Technically, you can do that. Human urine is completely sterile, off hovering twice before accepting piss from an HIV positive person, and who use what little drinking water they have to cultivate a heroin crop that uses the corpses of the dead as fertilizer, which has the effect of creating a strange plague that literally makes his skin boil. They decide to use the insider agent of the outpost to steal some of the ammo, and Preston, McBride, and Simcoe must break into the prison to release the prison's hostages, including a small group of orphan children, and deal with this potential serious threat to the community's survival. You know, when I first put on The Last Patrol for my reviewing session, I was initially going to follow this as a terrible movie. But some of the rather eccentric plotting and some surprisingly good performances despite the hokey material does tend to shine through. The script throws out some decent concepts that could be considered realistic in the context. If anything, this can be best described as a post-apocalyptic drama, and the low budget actually works in the film's favour. By keeping the scope of the story very narrow, the film manages to work out the logic of the story. The prison talk show and opium farm, not to mention the piss drinking and the need to send an infiltrator, not immediately apparent, but upon second viewing it does seem a touch obvious to an observant viewer, to steal some of the outpost ammunition, and do so in an intelligent manner. Even the inclusion of the bubble-headed Las Vegas stripper who doesn't get shown nude, as this film is obviously meant for a younger audience than what these post-apocalyptic movies tend to attract, which explains the group of kids, in America the PG-13 rating this film got, manages to work as she proves useful when the situation calls for it. Plus, with an aftershock picking the perfect time to appear during a performance at the outpost, it can accurately be said she literally brings the house down with a show. Now, while the badly written material can be daunting to work with, the actors put up a good fight against it, most managing to work over it. And by the way, some of Dolph's lines had to be redubbed by another actor since Dolph wasn't available for ADR looping. And the production even has its share of production tragedies. Not during the actual production, but more after the fact. Lead actress Sherry Alexander lost her husband, the famous Ryan Michael Crichton, to lymphoma while she was pregnant with their only child, and Giuliano Merikamis, the big bad of the show, was assassinated in the Palestinian West Bank in 2011 by Islamic hardliners who objected to his bringing theatre to the area's youth. Poor guy. But while The Last Patrol will never be seen as a good movie per se, in fact it's very badly made, but it is not unwatchable or offensive. The film's Christian message does give a good moral compass to the story, and being a devout Christian myself, I enjoyed the film's underlying theme of redemption. In fact, I actually would recommend this to Christian parents who want their children to watch something a little different than those Left Behind films, as this film actually has a positive message to push through, rather than all that doom and gloom. Plus, you never see anything offensively nasty, and the film even takes the piss out of itself due to limited skills of the writers. There's one scene where the leader of the children, woman who seems to have voodoo powers, actually Christian voodoo powers, creates rain appear. Crazy. So, a 2 out of 10, definitely a D rating is perfect grade for this one. A bad movie, but the perfect choice for some cheap fun for devout Christians, and bad movie masochists, with some Swedish beefcake on the side. Now for gore nudity. As I've said, there's very little violence here, but a decent body count, including the insider's corpse left behind for our heroes as a warning message, and no nudity. That being said, the stripper's shower scene is one of the most hilariously awful showers ever depicted on the screen. Okay, so that's it for The Last Patrol, but definitely gets a D, also known as The Last Warrior. And this disc, this is not a DVD review, but it's film only, but the disc is actually a very cheap grey market disc, very basic. Just a really crappy menu and the film only, nothing else. But if you want to get this in Australia, there is a Blu-ray available from Umbrella Entertainment. I haven't seen it, so I can't explain about it, but it's got a 1:85 ratio picture and looks pretty decent. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, I do not do requests, but if you want to have particular films in my collection, just leave the comment section, I'll answer. Also, if you have any questions about DVDs, I'll be happy to answer. Okay, you guys staying safe, take it easy. That's it for this review. See ya.